Hi guys, me again, I'm Nafid. I'm going to show you the relationship between Aruba Central and Aruba OS-10 and how we can configure WLANs in two different modes. One mode is tunnel mode that will connect to a mobility gateway, as you can see it. The lab has been established in such a way that communication between the devices and Aruba Central is being enabled. Now what we need to do, we'll show you the zero-touch provisioning, how to create a group that is for Aruba OS-10, and how to map the gateway to that group, create WLAN in the bridge mode, and create WLAN in tunnel mode. Let's go. This gateway has been restarted or has been reset. The gateway will pick up an IP address to enable it to contact activate. Then it will start performing the zero-touch provisioning. Already been upgraded to version 10.3.1.3, so it is Aruba OS-10 right now. If you look at this, the controller is 7005. That's the model of the controller, and we're going to see the process of zero-touch provisioning. So as an admin, you will not touch it. Notice that starting ZTP or ZTP, that is the startup script. We say we're not touching it. So basically trying to activate, so trying to contact activate. So master was discovered. It's managed by the master controller inside central, and it is being auto-discovered from activate. Notice the uplink interface is gigabit 000, where the cable is connected from the gateway itself. Notice that we have picked up an IP address from a DHCP IP address that is where the untagged VLAN on the switch interface. The master is non-me and no master. It has picked up a subnet mask, default gateway, DNS. Everything is being configured from a DHCP. We have not configured options like country code or the master IP. That all will be managed by mobility, by the master inside Aruba Central, and that will be because this device will be managed by Aruba Central server basically. We can now see that the gateway has been set up by the zero-touch provisioning. You will not be able to log into that gateway right now because there is no corresponding group settings, meaning that the gateway is not mapped to any group. We can have a look at that right now. Here we have, if you go here, you'll find this gateway is unprovisioned. It says one unprovisioned device. You click on it, that will take you to that device, and you can clearly see this is the unprovisioned device. Unprovisioned device, which is the gateway. Later on, we're going to show you, we're going to create a group, and that group, we will add the device to that specific group. You will log into your account, and the gateway, i.e. controller version 10, Aruba OS version 10, has been assigned to the client, and as well as it has been assigned a WLAN foundational license. So this is the client where the gateway belongs to, and you notice this is the one in question, is being assigned to customer for the lab customer 1, and it has been assigned a license, and that license is WLAN foundational license. So in this case, have a look. So basically in our account we have multiple devices, one of which would be the Aruba 7000 series controller, and then this controller has been assigned a license which is WLAN foundational license. So let's have a look at that. And that's a license for that specific controller. Going back to the dashboard, and we're going to launch the Aruba Central application, so we will get to that customer now. Our customer is lab customer 1. This is a lab environment. We start by looking into the devices we have got. So if you click on devices on the global view, we have two switches, we have 2 access points, we have 1 switch, and we should have 1 gateway. That's our gateway, and that is the controller in question here, and it is unprovisioned. That's a device name. That is the firmware update or operating system. It's been up for 1 day, 3 hours. MAC address, serial number. We have not got yet much information because we will need to provision this gateway. So now back to Aruba Central. If you look at the organization, you'll find there's one unprovisioned device, which is our device that we have talked about. And what we're going to do now, we would like to add that device to a gateway group that is WLAN. Okay, so the first step we're going to do, we're going to create the group. So we are in the groups section. Where do you go? And we are going to add a group. Click on that plus sign. Let's call the group gateway group. Gateway. This is gateway group, and it is only for gateways. We will make it user interface group. It is Aruba OS 10, and it's going to be for the campus, so mobility. Click on add. The group has been added. Now what we would like to do is to add the device, our mobility gateway, into that specific group. Then after which we will go to the group and start the configuration. Unprovisioned device. This is our device in question. Click on move. We would like to move it to this new group we called it gateway group, GW group. Click on it, move. We're going to select the group from the list, click on the global, and that's a new group has been created for us. And you will notice that that group has a device, which is our device. Click on devices to configure. You're going to see the device is listed here. We need to configure that device now. So we're going to configure certain settings in the group, and we're going to push these settings into the device. One of the things that we need to configure is also the system IP, and that will by default go to VLAN 4087. Without the system IP, nothing really will be pushed into the gateway. And that has to be configured in every gateway that you create in the group. So we go to the config icon. So now we will be adding the user VLAN, which is 1001. And the VLAN ID will be 1001. And the rest will leave it as is. Next to this, we will define the LAN port. And there's only one interface that exists, which is interface G000. We'll give it the same name. Whatever name you'd like to give it, no problem. And I would like to configure this interface as a trunk port. We'll leave the native VLAN as is, we'll not touch it for the time being, and we're going to go next, save it. We'll continue. Now we are in the group. We will configure a bunch of other things. So we're going to change, we will configure the system IP, and we will change the interface, make sure the native VLAN will change to 4094, which we're going to see is going to be created. So now we will configure things like system IP on the device level, not on the group level. And we will change the trunk configuration, and we'll make VLAN 4094 that you will notice that was created for us automatically by the system. So we go to the list, select your device, the gateway, go to device on the left hand side. You're on the config mode on the device itself. We go begin here. Now I would like to configure the system IP, and the IP address we're going to configure 10.100.201.100. Notice the subnet mask is /32. Click next. We're going to change the host name, probably. It's a good idea. WLAN gateway. Next. That's done this section. That will take us to a LAN section on the actual device itself. So what VLANs we have? We noticed that VLAN 4094 already been created. 4087, that is system IP, and the one we have manually created was the tunnel user VLAN 1001. We'll move next. So we're gonna cancel this guided setup. So cancel this, we don't need it. You can go back to it anytime. Now we are in the advanced mode. So we're gonna click on interfaces. We can see what happens here. There's a mistake. Obviously native VLAN should be VLAN 4094. So you click on this and we're gonna change that. So this one has to be 4094. And we're going to just change even the allowed VLAN. We can leave it as is if you would like to. But I would like to change it to 1001 plus 4094 basically. And there we go. If the gateway reboots, don't worry much about it. This is because it did not manage to communicate, because in between we had an issue with the native VLAN. So basically there was no native VLAN with that interface. VLAN 1 that had static IP address by default by the system, and that did not work obviously. So if that reboots, don't worry much. A few minutes later it's gonna come and pick up these settings, obviously because we have configured the system IP. So we see now what is native VLAN 4094. Trunk VLANs 1001, which is the client VLAN, and 4094, which is the native VLAN, where it has picked up an IP address. And it is both of these are trusted. It means we don't have to have any security policy on these VLANs. So after a few minutes, the gateway is back online. You can clearly see the green sign next to it. You can verify all the settings in the gateway that are correctly done. Now we're gonna go and create the WLANs. Be able to pick up an IP address from the user VLAN we have created, which is this one, 1001. So here you can see show IP route command. We can see the routing table. To reach that specific IP, I've created a default or static route. I create a static route that will go through the IP interface of VLAN 4094. This is the native VLAN IP address on the gateway. This is a native VLAN IP address on the gateway itself. Now we should be able to say to ping this ping 10.100.201.100 should be able to reach it. Now if that is the case, then when the access point boots up, try to connect a subject tunnel for WLAN we're going to create in a minute. That should be reachable from the access point. We can try that one to connect to the access point and try to ping it. So if you cannot ping it from the access point, it means you have a problem. So let's go and just connect to the access point. This is the access point IP, and we're gonna just ping that IP from the access point. Show IP interface brief. Right, so this is the version 10, show version, I'll show you, version 10 access point, right. So this ping that IP address, which is the IP address for the system IP 10.100.201.100 is pingable from the access point. So now we're gonna have a look at how to create a tunnel SSID and a bridge SSID. So let's have a look. Let's create WLAN. So we need to go to the group where the access point belongs to. Now we go to devices, go to config. You're on the config mode now. We're going to create two SSIDs. One being bridge, that the VLAN that the client will bridge on the local's access point interface, and the client will pick up an IP address in VLAN 11. Another one tunneled, where the tunnel will be established to the gateway, and the client VLAN will be in this case 1001. Obviously there's a DHCP server scopes that are on these two VLANs. We're going to create something simple just to prove the point, and then we will look at the tunnel that will be established between the access point and the mobility gateway. So we're going to have a look at that. So add SSID, and we're going to call this one, simply speaking, imp bridge. So we know it is bridging mode, right? And next to this, we're going to go bridge, and we'll assign a VLAN static, and we said VLAN going to be assigned will be VLAN 11. So we'll go. This is the VLAN that, as you can see, you could see at the beginning of the presentation. That's a VLAN where the access point is tagged on. We'll leave it as personal, so make it simple. Provide password. Okay, so there we go. And we'll leave everything as is. Obviously, in normal cases, we will do more restrictions, but it is just for demo purpose. We will connect the a user to this specific WLAN. So now that's a remote machine. We're gonna just connect to that WLAN. Let's have a look. Imp bridge, this is our WLAN, and we say connect, and we provide a password. I'm going to say yes. Now this is now connected. You should have picked up an IP in that VLAN. Have a look. That's the IP address this client has picked up. If we go to Aruba Central, we will see that client. But before we do this, we will connect another client. We're going to create another WLAN, and we're going to make that WLAN as a tunnel WLAN. Back to Aruba Central, add SSID, the same. We're going to say imp tunnel. Move next. This time we're going to say tunnel, and because the gateway cluster has been created automatically, this is our group. This is another group, but this is the one that we are having the mobility gateway in right now. Gateway group, okay. And then we're going to say static, and we're going to click here. We're going to see the VLAN that we have created, tunnel, right? Just select it, and we go next. Again, we'll make this one simple. Next, next. So now we have two WLANs, one tunneled, one bridge. Let's connect another client to the tunneled VLAN. Let's connect another client to tunneled WLAN. So that's the client. We're going to see employee tunnel, connect. And we will verify the tunnel on the actual mobility gateway. That should have now picked up an IP address in VLAN 1001, which is this IP range, basically. Yeah. Let's go back to Central, verify how it looks like. Now we'll go back to clients. We should see two clients right now. Okay, client 1, client 2. So this is tunneled, this is a bridge. Let's have a look at this tunneled mobile client. Look at the data path. We can see a tunnel has been established, an overlay tunnel. Okay, an overlay tunnel that has been established between the AP and the mobility controller. Okay, these are details of that mobility controller. That's the version, that's the name, other things, serial number, model, and so on, the IP address, and so on. Please notice system IP, this is what the tunnel has terminated on. Okay, let's have a look at the bridge one. So go clients again, and we go to the bridge client. We're going to go back to this. So we're going to go clients here. We'll go bridge client, and this is the bridge client. Click on this, you'll notice that there's no tunnel, it's a bridge between the AP and the switch on switch interface number 2, and that's the access point. And that's the client has picked up an IP address in different VLAN. Okay. You can verify the tunnel on the gateway. So now we can see the tunnel has been established between the access point IP and the controller itself, i.e. the gateway. Thank you guys for listening to me, and I hope I see you in future videos. Thank you.